If you have not heard of BRICS yet, you must have not been paying attention to global news. What is BRICS, you may ask? Well, in 2009, a unified group of major emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, created a platform for its members to challenge world-dominated currencies such as the US dollar, euro, and pound. Its creation was initiated by Russia, and just in recent weeks, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the United Emirates, and Saudi Arabia joined the organization. And there are approximately 30 more countries waiting to join in, many from South America, Asia, and Africa. Together, the countries account for more than 40% of the world population and a quarter of the global economy. They convene annually and take up a one-year rotating chairmanship of the group. The potential impact of a new BRICS currency on the US dollar remains uncertain, with economic experts debating its potential to challenge the dollar's dominance. However, if a new BRICS currency was to stabilize against the dollar, it could weaken the power of US sanctions, leading to a further decline in the dollar's value. Today, I briefly interview a known economist in the Southern Africa region, Mr. YUSUF Dodia, a trained electronic engineer who has spent much of his professional life in ICT sector and later in the private sector development space. Yusuf has presented papers and perspectives on economic development at international forums. One of the smartest people I have ever met here in Zambia. Here's my brief chat with Mr. Yusuf Dodia on the topic of BRICS. Mr. Yusuf Dodia, thank you so much for agreeing to answer some few questions on BRICS because you are an economist here in the country where I'm living now in Zambia. So help me understand, does BRICS, as everyone is saying, does it threaten the stronger currencies like the US dollar, like the British, like the pound and the euro? And is that the intentionality of it?
Well, yeah, but let's go back to, what does BRICS mean, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa were the prime drivers of what we now call BRICS. And this group of nations have been joined by 6 others in the last 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
And there's applications from around 30 other countries. So
Pending.
we're looking at BRICS being a group of about 40, 45 countries in a very short space of time. That's a third of the nations of the planet.
Yes.
Now the question is, what are they all about? Well, BRICS is saying the world monetary order is not equitable. We have a situation where our African currencies are aligned to the US dollar, to the British pound, to the Swiss franc, to the European euro, and yet those currencies are not supported by gold, which was a standard for giving currencies a value. The United States delinked the US dollar from gold in 1972. So the question is then, why should you be linked to a currency that actually has no business being a major currency, because it's not being supported by anything except confidence? So you find that these European or Western currencies are supported by confidence, and the confidence comes from dominance.
Yes.
The dominance of the banking system, the dominance of the international insurance systems, the dominance of international trade, the dominance of money movement. And so in more recent years, these countries comprising of what we can now call BRICS said, this is not fair, because we have to live up to a standard that is set by a foreign grouping that really has no bearing on our economy. And when you're a belligerent economy, you pay the price. And I think very obvious examples of it, a country like Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe had hyperinflation in the 1990s, 2000, when then President Robert Mugabe
Yeah.
decided to do the land redistribution exercise. We saw hyperinflation in Zimbabwe. And yet Zimbabwe as an economy was a much more productive economy than Zambia. And Zambia had 10 kwacha to a US dollar, and Zimbabwe had 100,000 Zim dollars to one US dollar. Why? What would make that happen?
Yeah.
You know, that hyperinflation is unknown even in the world of economics. You know, the inflation was running faster than ice can melt on a sunny day. And so it became very clear that world economies are manipulated to suit a certain group of the G20, if you like.
Yes.
They want our currencies to be in a certain position so that they can dominate our economies, they can control us through the value of our currencies.
Right.
And yet, if we bartered, if we took a ton of copper and said we want to exchange this copper for electronics, we would probably have a currency that's much stronger than the current currency that we hold today. So this control of the monetary system is what really became the impetus for the BRICS nations coming together. And now they're looking at the possibility of a BRICS currency.
Yeah.
And now the question is that if a BRICS currency came up, it would become a world recognized currency, and it would push out the international trading system in as far as money flows go. You wouldn't be using the banking mechanisms that are used. You know, when you want to send money to another country, the codes that you have, and these codes go through the United States. So basically, the United States is controlling the way money moves through a mechanism called SWIFT.
Yes.
So you have a SWIFT code or a routing code. And if we used a BRICS currency, we wouldn't have to use SWIFT. So money would be able to go from Zambia, maybe through some clearing house, that's a BRICS clearing house, to China, to India, to whatever, to Russia, to Brazil. And we'd trade without the West's monetary system being involved.
Is this political? Would you say this is political?
I'd say it's very political.
Yeah, it's more political than economic.
Absolutely.
Because as it stands now, I think one BRICS coin is equivalent to like 12 cents to the dollar.
To the dollar, yeah.
So we're talking about years and years. Will more and more of these countries that are pending when they join, does that accelerate?
Oh, absolutely.
What their intentionality is?
And where we see it very significant, it depends on how powerful a nation you are. And we come back again. We saw Zimbabwe go into tailspin because its currency was manipulated by Western countries. Because
and they mainly use the US dollar.
Yeah, now they have to use the US dollar because the US dollar won't be devalued, you see. And so we saw Zimbabwe go through that and continues to suffer from it for the last 20 years or so. But look at a country like Russia. Russia and Ukraine have a conflict. The West and the international monetary system and all that say we're going to devalue. And this now tells you and shows you that your currency can be manipulated. Because when the Western allies say, because we believe you've invaded Ukraine, we're going to devalue your currency, it means that your currency is not based on any economic relationships, it's based on political relationships. We're devaluing your currency because we don't like you. You've done something that we don't like. And what did Russia do? Because Russia has the muscle. Russia said, we don't care what you devalue our currency to, but you're going to buy our oil, our gas, our soya bean, our wheat, our edible oils with the Russian currency, with the Russian ruble. And we will determine how much you buy a Russian ruble from us. Because you can only buy the Russian ruble from the Russian central bank.
Right.
So that kind of threw this whole thing off balance. And so the Western countries were unable to carry out their threat because Russia's economic power was strong enough to resist this kind of manipulation. So they recognize that, oh, if we shake this boat too much, we're actually going to create a split, an east-west split in as far as monetary systems are concerned. But it was too late, because BRICS has seen the opportunity, and BRICS is working in that direction.
And Russia is the mother of it, really,
Yes,
isn't it?
absolutely. So what we're going to see is now countries that have come on board, like Saudi Arabia, which is a huge oil producer.
Yes.
We've got
UAE.
UAE. So we've got countries that are very powerful in the global economic arena that are joining BRICS. And I think it's inevitable that eventually you're going to have a BRICS currency, and BRICS will decide the value of that currency, not the West.
Because of the volume of the amount of countries that are involved.
And because BRICS can say, you're out of the picture, we're not going to trade with you.
Well, I like my US dollar, okay? I don't want it going anywhere. So my last question on this topic is, if more African countries, I think now Egypt, even Ethiopia, which are rivals on the whole dam issue.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think they're in, or they're waiting.
Yes.
They're in.
Yes.
And there are more countries waiting to get in.
Yeah.
Does this hurt or harm African countries?
I think in the kind of early stages it may hurt African countries, because a lot of African countries are dependent on the West for support, like balance of payment support, like budget financing support. So clearly, once you start to go the BRICS way, then the support you're getting from the European Union and the West is likely to be pulled off. So one has to be very careful about the transition. It's like, you want to resign from a job and start your own business.
Yeah.
You don't just resign and start. You kind of run your business on the side for a couple of months, and then when you see it's doing well, you quit the job and you move on.
Absolutely.
So this transition has to be managed carefully, but it is definitely the way to go. The only way this thing might be stopped is when the West decides, let's be more equitable. Let's not manipulate foreign currencies. Let's have a much more say by third world countries or developing economies in the way we run the monetary system, and that might stop the
quick growth of BRICS.
Exactly. And I think this is going to happen not only with the IMF, but it's also going to happen with the United Nations. The problems of the world are coming into question. Already you've got countries that are saying, we don't need the International Criminal Court anymore. We don't now, the question is, we don't need the International Court of Justice because it's very one-sided. It doesn't prosecute developed nations, it only prosecutes developing nations. So I think we're going, in our history of the world, we're going through a transition in all areas. BRICS is just in my view, the starting block of a much wider transition. Right. So, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I'm an American. I'm not an economist. But you mentioned the word confidence.
Yes.
Confidence. There's still heavy, strong confidence on the U.S. dollar. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And we've always had a leg up.
Yeah.
We still have a leg up. So I don't think it will happen as fast as everyone is projecting. I think, like you said, some flexibilities might take place so that there's not a fast turnaround or change. Yeah. But I feel like the U.S. dollar will maintain its strength.
Well, I think it's something, the thing is the way the world is evolving, it's evolving a lot faster. The older generation took a while to say, I listen to the radio. You look at the kids today, the child is 2 years old, 3 years old, they already know how to use a phone. So ICTs has fast-tracked a lot of things. And, this question of saying, well, will it happen as soon as we think? I'd like to take Zambia as an example. 20 years ago, if a Zambian invited you or you invited a Zambian to your home and you gave them a meal and you fed them with a pizza, they'd say, this is the snack. This is not food. If you gave them, chicken and chips, they wouldn't consider that to be food. If you gave them pasta, pasta and mince, they would say that's not food. It was nshima, it was food that we eat in Zambia, indigenous food. But look at what has happened in the last 10 to 20 years. We've transitioned rapidly to eating Western food. When you ask a Zambian, pizza, where does it come from? And they say, well, it comes from the shop. You know, they don't know that
That's
it's an
Italian.
Italian dish.
Yeah.
So the world has sped up, and things are happening so quickly
Yeah.
that it makes your head spin.
Yeah.
And really, we're the dinosaurs here. You know,
Yes.
this generation, these millennials and the new generation are moving a lot faster than we can really appreciate.
Yes. So it's up in the air.
It's
let's
up
just
in
say.
the air.
So we'll see
And brace
how.
yourself. You know, like you like on a roller coaster.
Yes.
And you come up the slope very
Yeah.
slowly, but when you get to the top and you go the down run,
And
that's
economics is like that.
that's mind blowing.
Yes.
So
Economics is like that.
So we expect to see things changing very rapidly in the
Yeah.
next 5 to 10 years.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And all this talk of food is making me hungry. So we're going to take the lighter chatter of this conversation to one of your favorite restaurants here in Zambia.
Fantastic.
And we'll eat and talk.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.